Welcome back to Steve Robb Reviews and welcome to Northern Ontario, Canada. Today in the background you can see I've got my little utility tractor. And I'm going to go over this little tractor. I've owned this tractor since 2006. It's a Kubota hydrostatic drive. And I'm going to go over what I think somebody should really take into account when they're thinking about buying a tractor, and whether this is a good tractor, whether this is the best tractor that you can buy, you know, by brand. And well, I've been operating farm tractors for about 50 years. And I will just tell you something. Like, operating a tractor on a farm compared to a tractor like this is a light duty utility tractor. It's a good little tractor. It's a 30 horsepower tractor, about 23 PTO horsepower. But I can go back to a 1947 Farmall H, and I believe that had 28 horsepower. It was gasoline, and it could pull this tractor all over the field. Like, I mean, this is just a toy compared to something that was built in 1947 that had tires this high and had some weight behind it. This tractor right here weighs about 1,700 pounds, and for my purpose that I use it for, and you can see I've got a rotary cutter on the back to cut all this field with, it is an ideal tractor. But in my mind, this is not really like a farm tractor. It's a light duty utility tractor. Somebody who's got a property like mine that just wants to cut a lot of grass, or if you want to go in the woods and just pull out some trees, do a little bit of logging, that kind of stuff, it's fine. Now, of course, it's got the option of 3 different sets of tires. When I bought the tractor, I could have got the turf tires, which, you know, would not suit my purposes because, you know, I'm not strictly on the grass all the time. I picked the industrial tires, which are, I think, a good compromise between an agricultural tire with the big, thick lugs and, you know, the turf tire. And I like the industrial tires, and I think they're a good compromise. But you know what? I plowed all this field when I bought this property, everything with a single furrow plow. And I wished I would have had the agricultural tires because, you know, the tractor just, if it was damp at all out, if the soil was wet at all, no traction. This has got four-wheel drive tractor, left rear, front right, and you know, yeah, it says four-wheel drive, but you know, when you only got like 2 tires going like this, I mean, how much traction you get, right? So you need some weight and you need the proper tires if you're going to do any type of field work. This tractor, not really suited for like field work and that kind of stuff. Now, I do have some implements. I'll show you the implements I got. And what I would like to say first of all is, if you're thinking about buying a tractor, the first thing not to think about is the tractor itself. The first thing to think about is the implements that you're going to use, that you're going to hook up to the tractor, and work your way forward from there. So take, for instance, the rotary cutter on the back there. So that's a 5-foot rotary cutter. It's got a weight classification. It's got a minimum PTO horsepower requirement. Start off right there, because there's so many, you know, like take for instance this brand Kubota, so many tractors that have less than 30 horsepower. You can't run that cutter. So, I mean, what is the sense of, you know, thinking about, oh, I like that tractor, now I'm going to match the implements to it? Well, you may not find an implement. Like, I mean, you can get some of these Kubota tractors down to maybe, with 3-point hitch lift arms, maybe around 20 horse, less than 20 horse. And you're not going to fit that cutter on the back. I mean, that cutter is just going to throw the tractor all over the place, and it probably won't even run it. So, I mean, you have to have a minimum amount of horsepower on the engine, a minimum amount of horsepower that's translated down to the PTO shaft that actually turns the shaft that operates your equipment. So when you're looking at, you know, if you want to get into market gardening or even a small little hobby farm kind of a thing, well, you have to look at what kind of a plow. This tractor here will pull a 1-furrow plow all day long. A 2-furrow plow if you've got agricultural tires, not these industrial type of tires, and definitely not turf tires. So the whole idea behind, you know, actually using an implement is you have to have weight. So weight, horsepower will overpower the amount of torque needed to pull an implement through a field. And when I did all this field here, well, the next implement after the plow was the disc. And I went with, well, just a disc that was wider than the tractor. Because if I went any wider than that, well, it just wouldn't pull it. And so many times, yeah, if the conditions were a little bit wet and damp, well, the discs would just dig in and the tractor tires would just spin, and I'm not going nowhere, right? So I mean, yeah, you don't want to buy too big of a tractor. You don't want to buy too small of a tractor. At least if you go a little too big, you know, it's a little bit costly, but you can get the job done. Too little and you're not going nowhere. So for cutting grass and this kind of stuff, 30 horsepower is fine. This is a light tractor. I'm going to show you the tractor now, and I'll show you some of the implements, and I'll show you some of the things that I don't like. But first of all, before we get to the tractor here, the main thing that you should think about is your dealer network. Who do you have around you that's, you know, it's going to service this, you know, and the warranty and the price, and that's the main thing, right? So I only looked at Massey Ferguson, Kubota, and John Deere. They're my 3 local dealers, and that's all I looked at was them 3 right there. Just as a sidebar here, I'm surprised that my local John Deere dealer now sells a tractor called Mahindra. And Mahindra is marketing their tractors just like Kubota did, with a long warranty, 0% financing, you know, and you know, this is the kind of stuff that gets people in, you know, into the dealerships to buy their tractors. Now, I've never owned a Mahindra. They're made in India, and they advertise that they're the largest selling tractor manufacturer in the world. I'm in North America. That means completely nothing to me. I mean, just like buying automobiles, you know, the largest automobile manufacturer in the world by sales is VW Group, and that means absolutely nothing in North America because they sell next to nothing in North America anyways. The big dog, General Motors. General Motors sells the most vehicles in North America, and telling me that VW sells the most in the world, it means nothing to me. Just like in tractor sales. Mahindra says they sell the most tractors in the world. Okay, big deal, it means nothing to me. Top dog in North America is John Deere. Now for the utility tractor segment here, Kubota's got a good market share of this particular market share of the products. But in my view, before I show you the tractor, you take a look at a Massey Ferguson, you take a look at a John Deere, and then you take a look at this Kubota. The first thing you want to do is you want to take a look at the specs, and the first thing you will notice is the John Deere and the Massey Ferguson weigh a lot more than this. And I knew that when I bought the tractor. The reason why I bought this tractor is I got a smoking deal on it, I got a smoking warranty, I got 0% financing, and that's the reason why I bought this tractor. I had no experience with Kubota at all. And today, you know what I would do? I would still do the exact same thing as I did back in 2006. Look at all the models, look at the price and everything, because you know what? I can't tell you Kubota is the best tractor out there. For me, this tractor has worked awesome for me. It's got some stuff I don't like, but you know what? No tractor is perfect. But I would say the big dogs, as far as I'm concerned, you know, is Massey and John Deere. And yeah, they're a little bit more expensive, but you only get what you really pay for, right? And there is times when I wish I had an extra 500 pounds on this tractor. Nah, I don't want to put all kinds of liquid in the tires and that kind of stuff. I would just like some more weight, a beefier, you know, frame, and but for my needs, this tractor has worked out terrific. So let's take a look at the tractor right now. Okay, so the first thing you can see is I picked the industrial tires, and you'd think that they have lots of, you know, lug on them, you know, for traction and that, but I would say absolutely not. They are not as good as a you know, a full agricultural tire. but they serve their purpose. And this tractor's got just over 500 hours. I believe it's 523. This is the biggest unknown to me that I could never figure out about this tractor. Now this is a hydrostatic tractor, and what that means is you got this pedal right here to go forward. You got this pedal right here, you press on that to go in reverse. And here is the brake pedals. And I just put some straps on here. Now this here, you can take up, you can lift off, and these brake pedals will move independently. And I really don't understand how they work. Years ago on the old gear tractors, you had the two pedals like this. You'd press on one of the brakes and you could turn a lot sharper. But how do you take your foot off of one of them pedals and operate the brakes? It's impossible. You know, so I mean, that there I think was just designed. They put this tractor down the assembly line as a gear tractor and just kept the pedals. There should only be one pedal there. They kept the pedals just because it was easier than redesigning a separate pedal for a gear tractor compared to a hydrostatic tractor. So the maintenance on this is very simple. You know, it's nothing that I would say not any person could maintain themselves. This is a valve that just, you close that valve and it keeps your 3-point hitch at the back locked in a certain position. I suggest everybody to use that from time to time. If not, it'll just seize up on you. Now that pedal right there, that is to lock the rear axle, you know, and it is completely kind of useless to me, because to press on that pedal for the differential lock to lock, you have to actually provide enough weight off of the seat to press on it, and as soon as you get off of the seat, well, the tractor shuts off on you. So I mean, you know, because there's a sensor underneath the seat. Well, that sensor, it started to screw up, I think about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, and I just bypassed it. I said, enough of that crap. And you know, every time you would get up a little bit, well, it would shut the tractor off on you. And I'm going, no, I had enough of that. So I mean, here is the 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, and it's as easy as just moving the lever. And on this one here, this just raises and lowers your 3-point hitch at the back. And it is a very basic tractor. And you can see, oh, you can see right there is you got like a park brake and emergency brake kind of thing that you can just lock on. And the one on the left is the cruise control. And that's completely useless too. I never did like that from the time I got the tractor, and all it is you press on the throttle and you get it up to speed, and then you push that lever down, and all it's got is some teeth underneath here. I don't even know if you can see it. All you've got is some teeth underneath there that just grab onto one of them cogs, and then what happens is you're going along, you hit a little bit of a bump, and it bumps off again. It just pops off all the time. So I mean, I didn't like that at all. So it's a very basic dash. You just got your fuel and your temperature setting, and this is your throttle here. And if you notice on the cab, I put my own sunshade. I made my own one up. I took the ROPS off that they had, and because if you drill into any of these ROPS systems itself, you void the warranty on the ROPS. So I mean, if you're going to sell the tractor, you can't sell the ROPS because the dealership won't take it if it's got any holes in it. So I did do some things to it, like I put this box down there to cover the fuel filter all up, because if you're going through high grass and this kind of stuff, it catches on the filter, and I would just tear that right off. And I just put this little bit of a box on the front here just to put some wrenches in the front, a grill guard. Yeah, I needed a grill guard on this, especially going through the bush, you know, and all the trees and that kind of stuff. But besides that, this has been an awesome tractor. This is the clutch pedal here. So even though it's hydrostatic, you still need the clutch to actually disengage the transmission before you actually start the cutter up. And this is a 5-foot cutter, and this is about as, I could have gone to a 6-foot, but then you know what, it makes it even harder to maneuver, because even this cutter here weighs about 540 pounds. When I'm turning a corner, yeah, the ass end of this tractor will get thrown around a little bit just by the weight of this cutter. So I mean, 500 some odd pounds, well, that's about it for this tractor for an implement on the back. And the lift arms on the back here, well, there's something to be desired. I mean, I'll tell you what, I mean, I never seen such cheesy hardware on the back of a tractor in my life. I'm not used to this, you know, this cheesy stuff. I mean, you can't go from like a Ford 5000 to something like this and look at these lift arms and the design of them and figure, you know what, like these turnbuckles here, I mean, they're pretty cheesy. This one over here, self-destructed. Yeah, it's a light duty tractor, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not trying to just bash the whole tractor, but it's light duty. And these turnbuckles here for the, you know, to tighten up the positions on the lift arms here, well, they're cheesy, and I'd like to see something better than that. But, you know, it's done its purpose. I mean, they're getting pretty wore out now, and the lift arms are something that you really have to consider when you're thinking about a tractor. How much weight will it lift? And this one's right here, well, you can lift over 1,000 pounds with this, no problem. I mean, it's not a lot, but I mean, you're not getting a big implement on the back of a tractor like this in the first place, right? So I mean, this has no problem lifting it. The only thing that I noticed on this tractor now, and let's just take a look here. Yeah, I got 523 hours. Is if I leave this overnight, them lift arms will sink down. So I have to turn that knob in there I showed before, and that locks in the 3-point hitch so it can't drop. But yeah, this will drop overnight and drop right down to the ground. So yeah, it's bleeding off, and you know, I'm not going to get that fixed. But one thing about tractors is there's a lot of vibration involved, and you'll lose bolts. I mean, I've lost some on this already, where you take a look there, you see them rusty ones right there? Yeah, I had to replace all them. So I mean, yeah, the bolts will just vibrate and just fall right out. Next thing you know, you're doing a little bit of an inspection on it, and you notice there's bolts missing. So you have to actually go around and, you know, double check all the bolts and the hardware and everything, and make sure that your tires are all on all the time, and you know, you're not missing stuff. But besides that, it's a good tractor. And when you're thinking about fuel burn, I can cut with this cutter on here for 8 hours on 5 gallons of diesel. So I mean, for me up here in Canada, that's about $25 every time I cut the grass, because we're paying around $5 and change for a gallon. And you know, but I mean, when I first seen this tractor, and I seen the, you know, the business end of the tractor right here, I mean, it kind of looks, you know, beefy to maybe some of you, but I know the difference. And this is very light duty. Like, I mean, you're not going to hook much up to this tractor, I'll tell you that right now. I mean, it's a good tractor, but you know, it's very, like I said, light duty. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the engine skirts off, and I'm going to show you this engine, because I'll tell you something, this engine is just awesome. It's a 4-cylinder diesel, and you can't find these engines anymore. They all build them with all kinds of pollution control crap on it. And but I'm going to show you this engine, and I'm going to show you what a real diesel engine should look like. And this engine is the best part of this tractor. Okay, so I took all the engine guards off, and you just take a look at that, and I mean, it's very basic, it's very simple. I mean, it's a 4-cylinder diesel. All it's got is a fan belt, an alternator, an injection pump, and it's all motor. And I mean, they give you lots of access here to take all the you know, the pieces apart. I mean, they just snap on with clips in here, and it's got an oil cooler on it. You can see the oil cooler in the front. And you know, this is just a terrific engine. I mean, the only thing I've replaced is the fan belt. All I do is the general servicing, just changing the fluids and the filter, and that's it. And this engine will start anytime I want with 5 seconds of turning the glow plugs on, and it fires up every time. I run 1540 Rotella diesel oil in it, and if you're not using it in the wintertime, 1540 is recommended by Kubota as an alternative to their 5W30. But this tractor right here in 2006 was 16,000 Canadian dollars. And today, you can buy this like around a 30 horsepower tractor from Kubota, and I think it's only around like 20,000 bucks today. So I mean, the price of their tractors has not gone up immensely, but you know what? There's a lot more competition out there. And would I buy another Kubota? Wow. Okay, let me put you up on the tripod here, but let's just take a look at some of the implements that this tractor will pull, and I'll show you these implements right now. Okay, we'll start off with this. I use this landscape rake. It's a good implement to have. And you know what? If one of these tines gets stuck in the ground, it stops the tractor. And I've got a 6-foot blade on the back, and that blade works awesome with that tractor. If you got dry ground, man, you can do a lot of grading with that blade, and it works fantastic. And I like this blade, and you know, it cuts in, and the tractor does a great job if it's dry outside. If the grass is wet, you ain't going nowhere. So over here is the plow. It's a single furrow plow, and that plow is awesome. Like, I mean, it's called the Lineback line. I think this was made by Mennonites, but this is an awesome plow. And you know what? All it's doing is sitting there just getting rusty, because you imagine I plowed all of this with that single furrow plow all over there, and this is about 8 acres. So, you know, that's a lot. And this is a chain tine harrow, and this is probably one of the best implements that you could get to smooth out after you've been working up the ground. You smooth it all out. This does a terrific job. It digs right in. This is not like one of these cheesy, cheap ones that you would buy at a, you know, at a store. But this is a real heavy-duty unit, and you know, you can turn it upside down for smoothing out like a gravel road, or you can turn it the other way with these pins sticking down. Man, they will just smooth anything out and tear everything up like crazy. And 5 feet is about as big as you're going to get for a 30 horsepower tractor, because if not, it's just going to stop the tractor. So then we'll go over here, and this is a little bit of a cultivator. And that cultivator, yeah, if you hit a root or anything like that, it would just stop the tractor, which I think is a good thing, because, you know, it's very easy to damage these and just bend them and snap them. So I mean, sometimes going too big can bust a lot of equipment up too. So that is a good implement for the size of that tractor for 30 horsepower. And of course, I wanted to make sure before I seeded everything is a roller. And this is a 48-inch roller. I fill it up with water and smoothed out the, you know, all this 8 acres, you know, while I was planting the grass seed. And it was just, it was indispensable. I'll tell you, like a roller is a good item to get. And here is the discs. And of course, these discs have settings, as you can see here, you know, for how big of a bite. You can turn these in or turn them out. And that's about where I left them right there, because if I tried to actually make them more aggressive, well, it would just stop the tractor. So, I mean, these discs, you can tell they're getting pretty rusty now because I haven't used them in many years. But after you plowed the field all up, then you go over it with the discs, and I tell you something, 30 horsepower, man, it just barely made it with this, you know, with this set of discs, because that right there takes a lot of torque to move, and it takes a good bite, and it takes a good tractor with a lot of weight to get these dragged through the field. And of course, you have to lift these discs as well. And this unit here is close to 600 pounds. So, you know, you have to think about that when you're thinking about buying a tractor. How much can you lift? So if you're getting like one of these small little Kubotas with a, you know, a smaller chassis and 17 horse, you ain't gonna get much done with that. Okay, so my overall thoughts on this Kubota, you know, it's been a good tractor. I like it. It's 2006 technology. There is no computers on this. There's nothing digital. It is just strictly all tractor. And that's what I like about it. I'll probably keep this tractor for the rest of my life. I have thought about getting another tractor. And you know what? I would probably entertain the idea of looking at all the manufacturers, including Mahindra. We don't have much experience with Mahindra up here, but apparently they're a pretty good tractor too. But the first thing I would look at is, if I was going to get another tractor, I'd want something a little heavier than 1,700 pounds, because there's many times when this little cutter controls the tractor, and I don't like that. You know, you're turning a corner and just the weight of that, you know, is moving the tractor. So I mean, if the ground at all is on the damp side when I'm cutting this field, I got to use the four-wheel drive. Or when I get to a corner and I'm turning, it's pushing the tractor, and you know, that's not something that I really like. And I would consider most brands, most big brands, something that's in your area that you can get service work done, and a company that's got a good reputation. You know, you can't go wrong with a Massey or a John Deere or a Kubota. But I'm not here to just, you know, be one of these fanboys for Kubota, because you know what, I'm not. I mean, this is just strictly a piece of equipment, like a business, and I'm not in love with this tractor. I'll tell you that right now. I'm not in love with this tractor like some people are with Kubota. They're in love with their tractor. No. I'm not in love with no piece of machinery, right? So, well, thanks for joining me here today. If you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and ask a question. I'll be completely brutally honest with you. But if you're thinking about buying a tractor, look at all the big brand names and buy what you can afford, and buy what, like I started off in the beginning with, is reverse buying. Don't just think about buying the tractor. Look at the implements you want to buy first, match the tractor to that. And if you go to most reputable farm tractor dealerships, they will steer you in the right direction of what kind of tractor you should buy. And they're very knowledgeable people. They're not all a bunch of crooks that wants to sell you, you know, a 200 horsepower tractor to cut grass like this, right? No, they're not into that. They want to make sure that you're happy with the tractor that you buy. And there's a lot more into picking out a tractor than just a couple of minute video on YouTube. And your farm dealership that sells tractors, well, they got the right guys there that can help you as well. So thanks for joining me here today. If you haven't seen this channel before, you're welcome to subscribe, and welcome to Northern Ontario. It's a beautiful day, and I got to go out there and cut all that grass. It's getting a little bit much cutting grass now, because I've been in on that tractor for 8 hours and I've had enough of cutting grass. So you guys come back again now. Hey, cheers.